Oh, from New York, New York, you are listening to Extra Time, presented by AT&T 5G. I'm Andrew Wiebe with my partners in soccer, David Goss, Charlie Davies, on the ones and twos, running the buzzer that we ignore, producing Anders, finally into the intro. Coming up today from the AT&T 5G virtual studios, Ache, Hector Herrera. It is done. It is signed, contracts finalized. He is coming to the Houston Dynamo in the summer before he goes to play in the World Cup with El Tri. We will break that down, talk about what it means off the field and on the field for Forever Orange. Week 2 MLS action coming right up. There will be no weekends in which you miss Major League Soccer these days. Charlotte's home debut on Fox against the Galaxy Leeds, and we have our one David Goss headed out there to partake with the people of North Carolina. We have an interview for you with Gaga Slonina, one of the biggest prospects in Major League Soccer, starting goalkeeper for the Fire at just 17 years of age. He's been compared to Gigi Buffon. He seems destined for Europe. We're going to get his perception on what's going on in his life and his career, and we will talk Jesse Marsch to Leeds to replace Bielsa and much more in the mailbag. What's up, guys? I've been workshopping some Jose Mari jokes, but I got nothing here. But I'm trying to do the opposite on this show. I don't want Anders to cut me after 25 minutes, so I'm going to try to put out a strong performance for you in this moment. How you guys feeling? By the way, that Leagues Cup shirt, I'm going to steal that from you, Dave. I need that.
Yeah, obviously, because I went to the first ever Leagues Cup game, but you're the Leagues Cup guy. I totally forgot. Classic Weeby. Is Charlie wearing a Jesse Marsch Chivas USA jersey?
Is it?
It's a Sasha question.
Wow,
What, teammates? We should definitely get some Jesse Marsch Chivas USA jerseys printed. Like that seems like a limited edition merch run that could be really, really fruitful for the Extra Time squad.
Yeah, I used to train with them in the off season, and I remember Jesse Marsch used to try and tackle me hard.
Try? Did you use the try? You didn't say
try. Yeah, try.
Try. Okay. Try. All right. We'll get to that later on in the show. Shout out to our friend of the show, though, before we get any further, Patrice Bernier. None of us are in a Hall of Fame of any sort. Yeah, I vote in one,
really?
But that doesn't
Charlie,
mean
you're not
much.
in a New Hampshire or New England or any Hall of Fame? Really? Are you not?
Not a one? You're not a Hall of Famer?
He's a Hall of Famer.
This is
He's
a podcast. You have
to
use your words. You can't nod.
I'm a Hall of Famer in a for my high school, Brooks School, and also for mass youth soccer.
Boom.
Okay.
There you go.
Double Hall of Famer. Yeah. Okay. Well, Patrice got inducted into the Canadian Soccer Hall of Fame, which is awesome. So shout out to him. We talk about the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame here a lot, and or National Soccer Hall of Fame, I should say. And congrats to Patrice. That's awesome. Quickly, some housekeeping before we get into the meat of the show. Remember to get your Pick 6 presented by BetMGM selections in for week 2. Just go sign up and play. Super easy. You're basically just picking winners, picking scores, and there are prizes for that as well. And also go get your MLS fantasy team in. We'll retweet the link to get into the Extra Time League. I know there are a ton of good prizes there, but I want to just throw out there, Ben Reich hit us up on Twitter and says his coworker and him just had a total did we just become best friends moment, realizing we were MLS nerds who both consider Extra Time our favorite podcast. They found this out, by the way, in the most incredible fashion. He says he knew this guy listened to ETR when he showed him his fantasy team, and he had Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy in his fantasy team. And he said, look, only an ETR listener would deep cut that hard into their fantasy team. You also know you're an ETR listener or just a Matt Doyle stan if you captained or started Julian Carranza in week 1. You can just hit up Doyle at Matt Doyle76 on Twitter.
Man, you guys put out our Golden Boot picks again, and just seeing it in writing was brutal.
I am also.
Who'd you put out?
Who are my 4?
Yeah.
Joseph, who had 2 assists but goals are only an account. Io, who didn't play. Mason Toy, who
Tough
didn't
one
play.
There for you.
Yeah.
Please tell me that was a draft and you didn't have the opportunity to pick whoever you wanted.
No, I mean, my options weren't Vela, Rui Diaz, and Joseph, and then I picked Mason Toy. Everyone else had other picks too.
Was it under duress, Dave? Would you, in a court of law, be able to argue that your selections were made under some sense of duress?
Yes, the duress was how strong is my brand? How tied am I to said brand? I'm pretty sure if you go back and watch it, as I was picking Mason and Io, I was like, I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to. And I think my other option that I was kicking around was Abobasi, who
Doyle picked up.
took?
Yeah, but that's on brand for Doyle.
Yeah.
That's very on brand for Doyle. You know what? I respect that you stuck with your brand, that you said there's nothing more important to me than what I represent and why. And I will represent that in the face of almost certain failure.
When you're at sea at night, the clouds might move, but you pick that North Star and you keep your boat
1,000% failure, but I'm still going to go with this.
Charlie, every one of these young dudes who's balling on the national team 5 years ago, I was like, this guy's a baller.
Oh,
and
for
Charlie was
sure.
like, call me when he's Anthony Fontana.
Yeah, for sure it
Wake
was.
me up when I care.
Tell me which one. Name one.
Bro, this is the Tyler Adams trained director right here.
Right.
I got my little hat on, choo-choo.
We've known about Tyler for a long time. Give me a one that was off the radar.
Off the radar. I don't know if I have anyone.
That's my point.
Yeah, think on it.
I was first on Pepe.
He was
of all the people on this
That's
podcast.
true.
I was first.
That's very
on
true. He had been talking
Thank
Pepe
you.
up for a long time.
All
Coming back
right,
from
you got it, you got
Frisco,
it.
coming back from the field, saying, "Hey, there's a guy who can finish." We might be hearing from.
We have one. We have one.
There is one. One exists. All right, let's get into the news of the week, and that is Ache. Hector Herrera officially signing with the Houston Dynamo. This moved pretty quickly, to be honest with you. We went from a point of talking about it on this show of like, hey, man, this is like a Hail Mary that Ted Siegel and Pat Onstad are chucking down the field. Is it going to connect? I mean, it kind of doesn't seem like it's going to. I mean, maybe they can get it done. They're going to Madrid. He's playing the Champions. They're going to watch. And negotiations are going to happen. Boom. It's done. There was not a lot of waiting around here.
Let's be honest. The first time this rumor came out and we talked about it on this show, we did it as this is the show. This is what we do. I don't think anyone really thought it was happening. It felt like Chicharito's going to go to Chicago because everyone else put the pieces together of they got a new owner. This is their market. This person could be available.
Andres Guardado to Charlotte.
Exactly.
How about Lewandowski to Chicago
like
Fire?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. And then within a week, the entire, view of Houston has changed. And if you are a Houston Dynamo fan or anyone who covers or follows this league, from now on, when any rumor gets connected, it is something that you have to take realistic and you have to take as a possibility.
You can believe it. Look, Ache has not been a part of this signing announcement. He's not been in the media talking about the Dynamo. He is focusing on finishing the season with Atleti in the best way. And I respect that. The man's a professional. He arrives in the summer. He has a contract through 2024 with a team option for 2025. He is one of 3 designated players the Houston Dynamo now have. Teenage Hadibi is one of them. They could buy him down, open up another spot. We'll talk about that in a while because this cannot be where this ends for the Dynamo. I wouldn't expect. And then you have Sebastian Ferreira, of course, who was the biggest signing basically in club history earlier. Like, Ted Siegel means business. Here's Pat Onstad talking to the media in the announcement. Quote, "It's the biggest signing in our club history, and I don't think anyone is close. It's a turning point in the franchise. We put a marker down. We believe this is going to transform our organization again and put us back at the top." I just want to read from the group chat. Kaylin's not here, but, oh man, this would be a great time to have Kaylin on the show. Kaylin in the group chat, quote, "I just love the concept that people can be envious of Houston's ambition in MLS." Charlie, this truly is, in my mind, a game changer, and we'll talk about on the field in a little while. We won't immediately because, of course, that comes down the line in the summer, but it's a game changer in what the Houston Dynamo represent, what they want to be, and the realistic scenario of them getting there. Just the fact that they can go to Spain, talk to Hector Herrera and Ache's people, offer the type of money that it's going to take to get Ache to come to MLS, and have Ache take them seriously and say, yes, this sounds like a great plan that I want to be a part of regardless of money, because he still has a World Cup to prepare for. He's not coming over here to just be like, oh, done and dusted, all good. Like, I'm, quote unquote retirement league. No, this man has to be sharp for the World Cup. Tata Martino is saying in the media recently that he is El Tri's best player. This changes everything from how they're seen, what they can be, inside and outside the club. It's huge.
I think one, it's important to make sure that everyone listening to this podcast understands what Hector Herrera brings to the team, what brings to the club. This isn't a player who's going to score goals or assists, in large numbers. I mean, if you look at his stats, he's played 52 games over the last 3 years, 0 goals and 3 assists. All right, so this is not a player who's going to light the league on fire. But what he does bring is fantastic positioning, technique, his vision. He's the player who can open up the game for the Dynamo. He gets on the ball and he can play those long diagonals. He can combine, and he can strike from distance. It's not that he can't, but that's not what he's known for. This is a player who can take control of the game, who wins the second balls. He's going to be the player that relies on the tempo of the Houston Dynamo. He controls the tempo. This is a massive signing for the Houston Dynamo, because now you're talking about bringing the Mexican culture of Houston to the stadium. That's going to bring a different dynamic to the Houston Dynamo home games, which adds to that home field advantage. This is why this type of signing is a game changer for the Dynamo. You look at the recent signings for this team, the biggest one is Albert Elise, and they spent $2.42 million on him. Now he's a type of game changer with the pace and the athleticism, but when you're talking about the overall hype, the overall command of a match, that's Hector Herrera. He can be a very special player in this league.
But Albert Elise, when he joined, was a prospect and who had done some things in CONCACAF, of course, but was at Monterrey and not getting playing time. We're talking about a guy who's coming off 8 or 9 years in Europe at Porto and Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, starting for El Tri with a massive reputation, an earned reputation, and the ability to change a club from the inside and the outside. I mean, just imagine, look at the depth chart now. Think about Ache walking into that locker room. I thought you made a great comparison. I think was it on Sunday night? I don't know, MLS After Dark maybe? And you were talking about Jermaine Jones and how he affected the locker room and the way the Revs as a club and as a team looked at themselves and their potential. No offense, Houston needed that change. We've heard over and over, Paulo Nagamura, Onstad, Ted Siegel. Anybody who's watched this league for X number of years knows this. They needed a culture change. They needed a perception change. Not only did people outside the club need to look at them and think that so they could sign the type of players that could get them there, but frankly, probably the people within the club and within the locker room needed to have that mindset shift of not just hey, we're here to compete, but in that quote, what does Onstad say? He says, we want to be back at the top. That's to say that and have it be believable. You have to make a big change like this. Just the Dynamo going out and getting an El Tri international. I know he's not quote unquote in his prime right now, but he is going to play at the World Cup with the Houston Dynamo next to his name. And not just next to his name, hey, he's going to be here after, but he wasn't here before. He is going to be preparing for the World Cup with the Houston Dynamo and MLS. And I know there are a lot of Mexico fans out there freaking out about that. That is what it is. You guys can do that. But for Houston Dynamo, oh my God, that is a complete shift in who they see themselves as and the players that they can attract down the line. The fact that Ache said yes to the Houston Dynamo, and they've said this, he's going to be one of the best recruiters we have. Hell yeah. This is, even if it doesn't work out on the field, and I think it will work out, he may not be dominating, but he's going to be a really good player. Everything else makes this a no-brainer for the Dynamo and legitimizes everything that I think that Ted Siegel has said up till now.
I'm not disagreeing with these things because I know we agree with them, just the way you worded them that I want to shift. One is he will dominate. He will dominate the game. He will be touching the ball in every facet of the game. When you sit down and watch a Houston Dynamo game, when you go out to a Houston Dynamo game, you will see him constantly. It's not the stats, as Charlie said, but his presence and the way he plays. He will dominate the field. And so you'll see him in that way. And I think he is in his prime. He started a Champions League game against Man U last week, and Tata saying he's the most important player in their camp. He is first on the team sheet for the best 11 for El Tri. He's still in that phase where he is an elite player in the world. And that's where, when you talk about Elise is Sebas Ferreira. And the issue for Houston in the past was they stopped there. They didn't add to that. They didn't do more. They made one good signing, and then that sort of was enough. So this is, you've made a young, talented upside signing. Now you're bringing in in his prime elite superstar to lead the team. And as we said, you can believe them when they say they're still looking for more and they can still get better. So I like the fit a lot on the field. Everything you guys said, I love the fit off the field. You needed to throw your flag up in the market. You needed a shot across the bow to energize people. I mean, they're playing SKC on 2DNA this weekend. You know how many times Ache is going to come up in a 50-minute pregame show into a 2-hour broadcast? This guy is going to be the most talked about player in the region for the next 6 to 8 months. And you are connected to that. People are tuning into you. We've heard that there was Herrera jerseys in the crowd on Saturday. He hadn't signed yet. People went out and got
Dynamo Herrera jerseys?
Yeah.
That is sick.
I'm pretty sure Anders was the one who told me that. He had a friend who was down at the game.
I assume it's true, 100% true, says Anders in the chat. Even if it wasn't true, there's about to be a freaking army of those kids rolling around. And this has been a failing of the Dynamo, and I think it's okay to call it a failing for a long time, whether it be, connecting with the community, whether it be connecting with, people that sort of like sit in this cultural, it's not a divide, obviously, but you're in a part of the country, you're 5 hours away from Monterrey. The U.S.-Mexico border is right there. There are so many Mexican Americans in your market. There are Mexicans in your market. There are people who, watch Liga MX religiously, and that's their thing in El Tri, and now you just brought in this just your ability to connect with the community via Ache went up leaps and bounds. They're already talking about the academy, and I don't know, how much link up is there, but regardless, there are all these like buttons that just didn't seem to be pushed before. I know that there were Mexican Americans coming out of the academy. I know they had signed a couple guys back in the day that like played Open Cup, but it was Kubo, it was Landin, and then now it's Hector Herrera. Like that, those aren't even in the. That's not even. Come on, that's not the same conversation. It's not even close.
Yeah, 100%. It's a new day for this club. That's sort of what Kalen's talking about, and it's exciting. And you could say as much as you want, right? They've said all the right things, but until a moment like this happened, you weren't going to believe it. And it'll be interesting what this year looks like. He's unavailable until July 1st. I think they play July 3rd home to Charlotte, and then July 9th they play FC Dallas. So you've got a July 4th weekend home game where you might debut the biggest signing in your club's history, and then a week later you play your biggest rival at home. It could be the perfect start to having him a part of this team. Will it be a little too late to push for the playoffs? Probably not, with the way the schedule sort of lines up for you. But they have to start to get some performances before he gets there and sort of start to figure out how he's going to fit in. I've said it, I love the fit with Carrasquilla and Vera. I think Vera, a true six, sits behind them. And then him and Coco both, they just cover every blade of grass. They're always an option. They're always connecting. They're always finding the next ball. And one of the reasons I brought up, I think it was Jermaine Jones last week when the rumor came about, and I brought this up with Schweinsteiger and Rooney as well, is these are players who are world-class, see the game at a world-class level, who have come into this league and done other things than what they are known for, right? They've shown that with their level of soccer IQ, with the experience they have, he's been working under Simeone for 3 years, captain Porto in the Champions League. He probably will up his assist and goals numbers in this league because the role will be there for him, and he's capable of it physically and technically. So it's going to be awesome to watch the whole year.
Charlie, if you were to identify a position on the field, and I'm going to guess I know where you're going, for the Dynamo now to shift to, because this can't be it. Like if they truly are ambitious in the way that they're talking about, you don't go just sign Hector Herrera and say, cool, now we're at the top. Like, awesome. Like we're gonna compete for MLS Cup and be at the top of the Western Conference. Not how it works in this day's MLS. Where should they go look? What should they be looking for?
Striker.
Well, they just did that. That's Sebastian Ferreira. He's got to come good.
But another player up there who can be a game changer. Someone, whether it's creating goals, also center back. I mean, it's an area where if you're looking at the Houston Dynamo, you want to have the strength of the team down the spine. And Hector Herrera, Ferreira, those are two game changers. Now, they're going to raise the level of everybody, undoubtedly. But if you're looking at Major League Soccer and game changers and where that usually happens, where that I think you make up ground on other teams. It's the players who can score goals and create. And so if you can get another player, whether it's another striker or an attacking midfielder,
Winger would be the spot, because I think they're going to play that 4-3-3, and Paulo Nagamura, he wants to be strong in it. Dave, I agreed with your assessment of the midfield. I would be looking at winger. No offense to Fafa Picault and Corey Baird and anybody else who gets minutes in there. But again, if you are trying to be at the very top, and you got Ache as a dude to go out and make calls, send WhatsApps to, and just to point out and say, hey, he wanted to be here. He thought our vision was worthwhile. I mean, just the fact that they got this done. Congratulations to Pat Onstad. Congratulations to Ted Siegel. The fact that they took the deal from rumor to completion is an incredible sign. And you got to love the fact that Onstad went to Mexico and helped sign Zelarayan. You would hope that more of those sorts of signings are on the way. By the way, Kansas City hosting Houston, you said it on Univision TUDN, Twitter in English this weekend. That's at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, national TV. They always do great content or great shows on that side, whether you said pregame, but also the broadcast. Anything else on this that you want to get into? I just want to say that Onstad did say that the signing is a little bit like signing Wayne Gretzky to a certain extent. Very Canadian of him. Just beautifully Canadian of Pat Onstad. Anything we haven't touched here that we should?
I just think the rumor that came out after the signing was that Houston had reached out about Diego Lainez earlier, and it seems like, and I think Tom sort of reported, that's probably not going to happen, but it does show you the stratosphere that we're talking about and that they're in. And when you mention Ache as a recruiter, as a recruiting tool,
yes.
I think that's for players of all types, but I'm looking at Jairo Torres coming to Chicago and saying, are there young players in Liga MX that'll say, yeah, I want to go be a starter, be a DP, play in front of a sold-out crowd in Houston, and play alongside a legend like Ache. And I think that's an avenue that's opened up, and that's where I think of Elise. Can you find the next Elise? But imagine the numbers he would have put up if he had a legit center forward running alongside him and guys in midfield who could take the pressure off of him. I mean, he already was a double-double guy as he found his feet and then went to Europe. Can you find the next player like that where now they're in a setting where they don't have to carry the team? And I think it's realistic for Houston fans to say that they're on the right road to making that happen.
I just want to throw this quote out there because I find it to be interesting and a little bit funny. Matías Almeyda on the Dynamo signing Hector Herrera, he was asked about this in his his press conference. Quote, first I want to congratulate I got to start this over, sorry. Quote, first I want to congratulate the league. Houston is a team that believes and a team that wants to win. What a blessing for their manager. Just, I mean, so passive aggressive.
Oh yeah, it's a zing. It is a zing. And to be honest, you have to side with them. I mean, you look at San Jose. What have they done to bring in players to strengthen the side? You know, you look at 2019. They brought in Christian Espinoza, and he's had some really bright moments so far in this league. They brought him in for $2.5 million. They also drafted John Bell, the reserve for the Revolution, who looks like they could use at the moment. 2020, they're bringing Remedi for $500K and a Javier Lopez loan. 2021, a Bobasi, which is within the league, and Jamiro Montero.
Nothing wrong with that, though, Charlie. That's within the league. Nothing wrong with that. Successful teams.
But go
successful
invest.
Charlie.
I know.
Bring in some players.
Charlie. He brought in Osvaldo Alanis. He brought in Chofis. He brought
because
in
he had
Piero.
no money.
He brought in Andy Rios.
Of course.
None of those guys hit. Those are his guys.
Yes.
Don't look at another team and say, oh, wow, they're bringing in talent. Bro,
let's
your guys can't play.
Gus, let's be real, though. Did he have a budget?
Who we don't know.
Could he go?
We don't know a single player that he asked for. First of all, if you're just saying, oh, I just want elite players only, well, first of all, you only get 3 DP spots. So welcome to Major League Soccer.
Okay.
And this was always a worry with him and what he did of Chivas just bringing in players. But prove that you can identify talent before you're going to say, yeah, why won't you give me $20 million to go spend on a player? Bro, get Andy Rios and Albaceas out of my face, and then I'll give you that money.
Okay, but
God, Charlie.
But you
don't be a Matías Almeyda apologist right now when this dude's rolling out fake lines.
Great. 100%. But you can't argue that he's not given a budget to go and get players. When you look at what the Houston Dynamo have done just as of late, and you look at what he's done over the past 3 years, it is laughable. It is laughable. But then you go back to, okay, his record, 33 wins, 42 losses, and 22 draws. Is that good enough? No, it's not. And I think they've been so volatile with their results. It's like one is you're winning 5-0, then you're losing 5-0, and there's no consistency with this team. So on that front, I 100% agree with you. You got to coach well for me to say, hey, I believe in you, but then don't give them 3 years of mediocre performances and say, hey, this is our guy. For me, it's the Earthquakes are still unknown. You don't know what they are. Is this just carrying yourself around each season and just being okay with like status quo? Or are you trying to win trophies? For me, with what Matías Almeyda is saying is they're not giving him money to go and get a Hector Herrera. They're not giving him money to go get those type of players. So that's his that's his shot.
Who'd Colorado give Robin Fraser? Who'd they go out and spend big money on?
That's another one.
And he won the West.
I know, but they didn't win the West, but they came close to it.
No, they won the West last year.
It's a technicality. You don't win the West by finishing it.
They were first in the Western Conference. They were the number one seed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a technicality, but I respect it. I respect it from Charlie of withholding that victory from you. I love that. I love that. I think you're right, Charlie, and I think you're right, Dave. I think you both have great points here. The bigger point for San Jose, which somehow we've got onto here, is
I don't know why you did this.
Who are they? Like, who can they be with Matías Almeyda? Well, we've seen that. Who can they be if Matías Almeyda leaves? We may be about to see that, but what does that actually mean? They are in the same boat that Houston were in before this signing, which is they haven't spent the money. Will they make that commitment on the back end? And if they don't, can they be the Rapids? Can they show that they have the wherewithal, the scouting network, the coaching quality, and the ability to identify talent to get themselves to a point without spending that big money? Because when you look at the player union spend totals, both these teams have been at the bottom, but it looks like, with just one signing, by the way, Houston Dynamo are going to jump that up big. We'll see. What do you think?
That's all it takes is one massive signing.
I know.
One massive signing.
What do you think Ache? Where does he going to fall?
I'm so angry at both of you right now.
Where's he going to fall? Ache. By the way, San Jose Columbus crew on Saturday. 5:30 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN Plus. It's going to be a fun one. If you want to be entertained, that's going to be fun. That'll be good, cool. And it's going to be nutty. Where do you think Ache falls in the best paid players in MLS category? At the very top, it's Chicharito and Vela at about 5-6.
I bet you he's in the top 5 combo because he's coming on a free. So there's no transfer fee paid. And often when you see that, the players' salaries increase to cover the part of the transfer that players receive when they happen, but also because the club didn't have to spend that money to send to the club. So often a lot of that money goes in. So I would be shocked if we were hearing that Atletico Madrid wanted $5 million for the transfer alone. I'd be shocked if you weren't talking about a Chicharito-like number. And I think that's fair, right? I mean, specifically those two guys, you're looking at two players who maybe Vela different than Chicharito, but Chicharito wasn't playing at Sevilla when he came in to MLS, and there wasn't other options for him around Europe. And so that's why he came to the Galaxy. So if that's what he draws, and I get he's a goal scorer, and so that will shift things, right? Charlie's always going to make more money than I am because Charlie's a goal scorer, and that's fair and respected.
Hardest thing to do.
He should be at that high number. So yeah, he'll be in that combo.
All right. Big move. We're excited about it.
I can't believe you guys got me heated about San Jose. When we're talking about
it felt good.
Pulled him in. We got him. Charlie he was stringing you along. He had you on the end of the hook. It's like the commercial with the guys that they got the fishing pole with the dollar bill, and he's just like yank it in front of your head.
They didn't spend like this club. That's all I gotta say.
Chivas USA TID, of course. Although Kubo is across there between Chivas and Houston, so there's we brought that full circle.
So much to bring him in.
How about Djordje Mihailovic? There's some rumors out there, and Serie A, Premier League, Bundesliga, League One. What do we think about those rumors, Charlie? Like, do those feel legit in your mind? Like, he went to Bologna, I believe, in the offseason to train. Mm-hmm. He's looked good so far, and he looked good last year as well. He took a big step up.
He took a big, massive step in the right direction, right? I think for the first time in his career, 2,800 minutes throughout a season, 32 starts. And if you're looking at stats, very impressive, right? 4 goals and 16 assists. Where he needs to improve is shot selection. So he had 59 shots, but only 15 were on target. You got to be a little bit better with that, because as a midfielder, when you're controlling the game, you cannot give up possession and making the wrong shot, making the wrong choice. We love midfielders who can shoot. Great. But you got to put it on target. You got to give yourself a chance and your team a chance. And then for me, it's the strength on the ball. Sometimes it looks like when things do get physical, he shuts down. There are times where I've seen him, when he gets in the groove, teams can come and get under his skin, and then you start to see him disappear slowly, right, within the game. I would like to see him take a step up with passing accuracy and then just strength on the ball, not dwindling in matches when things get physical. If he can do that this year, I don't think we'll see him next year in Major League Soccer.
And that's what I felt like I saw in the Santos game. And I said it when we came on talk about CCL last week. It felt like he was physically bossing Liga MX players, high-level players. It felt like he had that moment where he went over and trained with Bologna in the offseason and was like, yeah, I can do whatever I'm good at. I can do it against anyone. And I think Matt Turner said it best about Tajon Buchanan, was like, once Tajon realized that he could treat MLS players like he's treated every other player he's played against in his career, he just went from there. And I think we're going to see that from Djordje this year. Will the number total go up that much? It just might be hard because he had such a good year last year. But I think we are going to see, to Charlie's point, a guy who's focused on improving the things he didn't do as well, controlling more of the game, being more involved. And all of these make sense. Now, we are still figuring out what MLS looks like in this new reality of like teams spend $10 million to bring in MLS players. Dallas is selling. Guys don't even play in MLS, and they're worth millions of dollars in Europe. At some point, teams need to build around something. And so I am curious what a 24-year-old, maybe not on the national team, Djordje Mihailovic looks like on the market, and what that's worth to Montreal versus having him in your team. There's no question the Alistair Johnston move was to sell him eventually. You're getting a low-end prospect. You're getting someone who's starting for Canada. Like, I'd be shocked if Alistair Johnston kicked off 2023 with this team. And there's a lot of young players in this team. We saw what Kone did. We saw Zuhir. We've seen a lot of talent. I'm not saying I think they're going to hang on to him, and I don't think teams are in a spot where they want to have sort of a disagreement with a star player. But it's interesting. And it's interesting because Djordje didn't play in Chicago. So he kind of knows that experience of like, if he goes to a European team that's not guaranteed time, how does he handle that? What does that experience look like? Does he prefer being the guy somewhere? I think all of these are conversations we shouldn't ignore just because teams are spending money in Europe for Americans.
Well, I was going to add, when we were talking to Gaga Slonina, and he talked about playing as a young player. To develop, you need to be playing. If all these big clubs come calling after this season, what does that look like for him? Is it
how does that test that belief in that resolve?
Right. Is it a Zach Steffen? You just sign and you go over and you hope for the best, or is there a plan to still making sure that he gets those minutes to continue his?
The beauty for
spoilers to everyone behind the secret of television. We will interview Gaga Slonina later.
Charlie's got a little jump cut there from Charlie. Oh, little jump cut. Yeah, whoa, hell, coming up later on Extra Time.
Insider info from Charlie.
Wonderful tease from Charlie on that one. Here, Charlie, let me tee up on this one. John Brooks is done with Wolfsburg. Contract up in the summer. Things didn't work out. He's not in the allocation order. He's not in the allocation order, which is interesting. That might change. I don't know. Should somebody try to sign John Brooks in MLS?
1,000%. Remember, this is a player who has done really well in Germany and in some cases with the U.S. Women's National Team. But as of late, I think it's been a struggle for him. And so now leaving the Bundesliga, it'd be a great time to reestablish yourself, build yourself back up, and come to Major League Soccer for the first time, right? And which there's a number of teams that need center back help and support. in my opinion, right now, teams that desperately need him and they should do whatever it takes to sign up of his caliber is Montreal, Chicago, Charlotte, Vancouver, and Cincinnati directly. Austin can be added to that list. DC, Minnesota, Philly, and Miami. Those, in my opinion, right now, could use him, insert him into the lineup at the moment, right now.
The two that I like on that list, I had Chicago as well. They started Wyatt Omsberg this week. They brought in She-Host. That's an upgrade. But I agree with you. And obviously, he's got the tattoo of Chicago on one of his elbows. His dad's from Illinois. So that would sort of be a homecoming for him. And I like DC shout as well. They only have the one DP. They'll have two when Taxi gets here. So they could... Because the question with him is he going to be a DP?
No,
is it high-end TAM?
High-end TAM.
Is it a... Okay, and then do teams have...
Is that
the
what
cap
he
space
imagines
right now?
himself as?
Well, I mean, if every team in the league is like, hey, you're high-end TAM, then you're high-end TAM.
Well, I'm just saying that may be a reason why he wouldn't be in the league, right? Because his contract at Wolfsburg, I think, was pretty lucrative. Although there's a reason why Wolfsburg's not.
There's a reason why they're not extending his deal. Yeah,
you're coming out of a pandemic. If
I vote
across
Chicago.
The world.
I vote the Fire. If we're gonna have to choose a team here for maximum enjoyment factor, him and Shihus, the new center back they got from the Bundesliga in the back, that could be a
It would make a lot of sense. I think DC as well. As I said, I think if you are looking at a DP deal, DC on a lower end DP, but also RSL. I think when you look at RSL and like you have a new ownership group similar to what Houston's going through, you maybe don't have enough time to really put the pieces together and say, who are our three ideal candidates? How do we spend this money? This is a guy now who becomes available at a position of need. Can you spend the money to get him there and say, hey, look, Walker Zimmerman and Miles Robinson got themselves into the team through playing week in and week out in MLS. We can offer you that as well. If he's not going to take or get a DP deal, the LA Galaxy need help.
It's just
the LA Galaxy needs center backs,
right.
and they don't have international roster spots. And he is an American, and he's available.
You're right. It's important that they pair him, whoever he goes to.
Yeah,
he's paired with someone who has pace. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. All right, let's get into week 2. Week 1 was a blast. Loved being able to just camp in front of my TV, get ESPN Plus rolling on Saturday night, hit up Twitter Spaces, get a little MLS After Dark in the middle of those games. Of course, you were on the ground for money last weekend, Dave, working in DC, but now it's for pleasure in Charlotte. 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Big Fox Deportes on Saturday. This is the big game of the weekend, the home opener for Charlotte FC, their first introduction to their people, their supporters, their city, their region. Galaxy in town, could not be more perfect. Chicharito off a game winner, just putting out all the vibes. It's the must-watch game of the weekend, in my opinion. You're fortunate enough to be in the stands with, we expect, like 75K, likely a new record in MLS.
Wow.
Yeah, and everything the Charlotte front office and they're talking about with me last week was like, there's some special stuff they're going to be doing in the stadium. And obviously 75K alone is special. I don't think there's a bad way to go about that. And we've seen the history for Cincinnati, for Atlanta, for not Minnesota. When you get a big crowd in there, it sort of fuels the team and can sort of make up the difference in the gap of the experience your group. They've not played together. It's a new team. You're putting it together versus your opponent. And the Galaxy are kind of a perfect matchup. You've got Chicharito, you've got that star power. People are going to come out. Everyone knows Douglas Costa and what he's done in the world, but they're a gappy team. And there'll be openings to create chances. It sounds like Karol Sodowski will be available. He landed from Poland at 5 p.m., an hour before they played against DC United, so he was unavailable, but now their DP center forward comes back. That moves Titi Ortiz back into his natural position, either as a 10 or out on the wing. It just strengthens this team, makes the starting 11 that little bit better, and I think you saw a team with clear ideas last week, and now you've got a crowd behind them. You've got, that energy cheering them on. I think this will be an entertaining one, and I think they've got a shot at getting a win in front of their fans for the first time.
What'd you think about Charlotte in week 1, Charlie? I don't think we've gotten your thoughts on this show.
To be honest, they created a lot, I think many more chances than I thought. Defensively, still a struggle. Set pieces. This team's going to be a work in progress, but they're not as bad as I think their head coach made it seem like they'd be before the season started, right? So it also
maybe that was just some clever, mind games by Miguel Angel Ramirez. He's
low.
like,
really low,
like flush. Like if you were to screw it, flush with the bottom, right on the
right. So from that standpoint, losing 3-0 on the road, you're like, it's like pretty good performance for Charlotte. But DC concerns me in the same breath, because I thought DC, without Bill Hamid making some big time saves, it wasn't a sharp showing from DC, even though they got a 3-0 win. That was probably kind of a mirage in a way. So it'll be interesting to see how they play in the next match. But Charlotte, there's a lot to improve on. I do think they'll be better than we anticipate.
Okay. How much? What did you anticipate? Are you talking about better than, like, not wooden spoon?
Better than wooden spoon. Yeah.
Okay.
Better than.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that. Just wanted to make sure it was crystal clear in my mind. Do you have any pregame plans before we get to the Galaxy side of this, Dave? Have you set plans?
Yeah. I land on I think I land at like 10:30 on Saturday morning. I've already got a brunch scheduled for 12:30. Get myself some waffles, get myself some Southern food, and then I have a friend who lives in Charlotte who's planning us a little brewery tour, I think, on the way in. 7:30 p.m. is like a perfect local kick. You get to spend the whole day, hang out. I'll probably have MLS on the TVs wherever I am the whole time, and then roll into the game and just munch food. I'm sitting in the upper deck. I bought these tickets myself, which means I went as cheap as possible, just to be part of history, to be a part of it. So I'm sitting in the upper deck. I'm genuinely excited. I obviously love what I do, and we're all really lucky. We get to go to soccer games for work all the time, but it's like different to go for just purely
100%.
fun. And so that's a bit of a shift for me, and that's one of the things I'm excited about. And I have to say, I was like, we booked it, and I was like, really? And then being in DC with Charlotte fans after the game, I went by a few of the places around Audi Field in DC to get some food and drinks after, and the Charlotte fans were out in force in all of that area. And it was, I think, like 11:30 at that point, and they're singing outside the bar that we're sitting at. I was with Charlie Boehm, and it's like they're singing to other fans across the street, and it's like, week one, this team doesn't exist yet. They just lost 3-0, and they're already at that level. I'm pretty excited about what Saturday will look like.
I just realized when you said 7:30 p.m. Eastern that Anders is the one that put the times into the rundown. I believe I've given all other times in the show incorrect because I put them in Central Time and adjusted them. So 3:30 p.m. is that Sporting Kansas City Houston game on Univision, 2DN, and Twitter. Just go check the MLS website. Like I'm translating between time zones, and it's not working out that well for me. How about the Galaxy? Chicharito in week 2. Yeah, a shutout against NYCFC. Is this a sign of things to come, Charlie? Like, this is going to be an improvement on both sides. Chicharito playing more and being just as productive as he was last year, but more minutes in the field equals more goals. And do you buy the shutout, or are you selling on the Galaxy defense?
Oh, boy. You're really doing it to me for this one. I'm going to buy the shutout against Charlotte.
Against Charlotte, okay.
Yeah. I think against Charlotte, I'm going to buy the Galaxy getting a shutout. Just in the terms of, I don't know if they have enough game changers and off of set pieces, probably not strong enough. And if they are playing on the front foot, the Galaxy, which I would expect them to be, even though they're playing on the road, they have enough. It's an exciting attacking group. If they can work together defensively and make sure they're not making too many mistakes and taking too many chances and risks, this team will put up an impressive season.
Could they use Sergio Roberto or Sergio Ramos? Reported interest in both. I don't know if it's real, but they're reportutely LA Galaxy have,
or Franz Beckenbauer.
Reportedly, Galaxy have made an offer to Sergio Roberto.
Why you got to do that, guys? Franz Beckenbauer.
Sergio Ramos is just as realistic right now.
Oh my god!
On multiple fronts.
How about Sergio Roberto then? Because there is some reporting out there that there's interest in reportedly an offer. Again, I just keep using reportedly because I don't know.
Where do you think he would play?
D-mid or as one of the backup fullbacks, which is what he's done in Barca. Listen, I don't have a problem with with the Galaxy being, a destination that players towards the end of their career want to come to that still can add something. You just can't build your team around it. And I think right now that's fine. Like the Galaxy have moved on from that, and they have Ravelison and Marky Delgado and Chicharito.
Yeah.
I think it's okay if you have a spine of players who are in their prime who can give you high-level performances to bring in guys like this. You just don't want to build your team around them because that has not been successful.
In my opinion, it wouldn't be a good fit. When you're the LA Galaxy, and I've been playing in Europe, when people talk about going to MLS, they're always talking about LA Galaxy, right? It's always LA. Now that David Beckham's in Miami, and Miami's always been an attractive place for foreigners, Europeans in particular, to go on vacation. But LA is always going to be the golden standard just because of Hollywood and the weather, and David Beckham kind of started there. It's got this big brand. You can attract anyone who's looking to come to the U.S. Galaxy is typically the first club that comes to mind. Sergio Roberto, no disrespect to him, is not the player that you want to use a spot on when there's a number of other players who are probably circling or getting ready to come back to, or ready to try coming to Major League Soccer. So if you're looking at players who can add something to your squad that you may not have, I'm not so sure that that's the player.
All right, Sunday, Austin, Miami, 4 p.m. Eastern, ESPN Deportes. Boy, if you are Josh Wolf, Claudio Reyna, and that Austin team, you got to be applauding the schedule makers. They give you at home to start the year Cincy, and then Miami coming to town? That's a gift. That's a gift. You ain't got to take advantage of the gift. Of course, they did it in week 1 with the 5-0 shellacking, but I mean, it doesn't get any better than that to try to build some momentum ahead of tougher stretches, let's say, in the season. What are you going to be watching closely in this match, Dave?
I think for starters, what you saw in week 1 from Miami was to really shift a lot of the field to the left and give just a ton of space for Yedlin to run into. And Higuain found him when he came deep with a lot of those through balls. That's a whole different challenge for Austin than what they dealt with against Cincinnati, who played in the diamond, who played narrow, who tried to play direct and more up the middle of the field. And so Jan Kolmanic has the assist in the opener, the opening, 2 minutes of that game. Now he's got to deal with a whole different challenge. So I think that'll be really interesting to watch. And then what Higuain does, as good as Austin was, there was chances for Cincinnati, and there was chances when the game was still close. And so now Kip Keller and Cascante again. Now they're dealing with a whole different monster in Higuain and Campana than they did with Brandon Vasquez in the last week. So I think for Austin, it's awesome that it started that way. But as you said, it was a bit of a easy open with FC Cincinnati under a new coach and what their history has been. This is, I think, one step up in terms of challenge. And then they go to Portland, I believe, and Seattle after this. Can they prove that they are a different team from last year and a contender?
How about Austin? Charlie, did you like?
I know.
Yeah, but I'm checking in with Austin.
I was like,
checking to see what he liked. Checking to see what he liked from Austin.
I liked how they were aggressive. I mean, Cecilio Dominguez, I think, to me, looks in a better position than he was last year. He looks more fit. He looks active. He looks like he's acclimated to his teammates. I've always been a big fan of Alex Ring. I think he's a phenomenal player on both sides of the ball and really like the engine, the heart of the team. Driussi is, I think, still underrated. This is a player that they think very highly of. And he has shown some flashes last year, and I think he started off this year strong. And this is a team that I think has a lot going for, a lot to offer. I'm still not convinced defensively yet with this Austin team. They played Cincinnati week 1. They play Miami. I want to see what this team looks like against Seattle, Nashville, some of the Galaxy, LAFC, some of the stronger attacking teams, to get a real good sense of where this Austin team is.
LAFC, speaking of, final game of the weekend, 10 p.m. Eastern, FS1 Fox Deportes. Tough for the East Coast to have it be that late, but stay up because you got Carlos Vela. Charlie, I'll get it out of the way. You captained Carlos Vela for week 1 in MLS Fantasy. Oh, look, what an incredibly insightful choice by you. The limb you went out on was certainly shaking you and all 60% of the other players in the entire league. Carlos Vela, is he back? Is this the Carlos Vela we will see all year long? Or was this an early mirage in the midst of contract negotiations?
I don't think there's a mirage when it comes to Carlos Vela. I think it's either he's healthy, and he's fit and he's enjoying the game, or he's not healthy, he's disinterested and it's kind of over playing with the club and not really enjoying it. To me, it looks like he's happy and he's healthy. And if you have a happy and healthy Carlos Vela, you're going to have the best player in Major League Soccer. I think that's what we saw. So for me, Steve Cherundolo is just thinking, I got to keep him healthy. That's it. If he's healthy, he's going to be happy because we're going to continue to get him touches on the ball, make sure that he's just enjoying the game. And that's when Carlos Vela is at his best. So for me, that's something we're going to see a lot of this season.
Give me a Portland side that you're looking at, Dave. What are you going to zero in on?
Well, so anytime these two teams have played, it's been like an insane open hack fest. They've played some ridiculous matchups. So in general, I'm looking forward to Gio Savarese's face on the sideline dealing with that. But I said it coming out of the game on Sunday. I think with Santiago Moreno and what he's shown in this league, there's chance creation in this team. And I think even with Niashkota struggling to finish, he's a creator and he brings more in that side of the game than what Mora does. And so there's chances in this team. The question for them is defensively. And so I thought even giving up 2 goals to the Revs, but one's off a set piece and one's an unbelievable finish from Leggett, that was a good sign with the goalkeeping change with McGraw and Bill Tuiloma getting the starts at center back. That was a really good sign for this team. And I think now it's an even bigger test at LAFC with Carlos Vela. Is Chicho Arango back and healthy? Even if he's not, you still have to deal with Cifuentes. You still have to deal with Brian Rodriguez. And those fullbacks, they've gotten more conservative in the time they've been in MLS to help defensively, but they do still like to attack. So I think that's what you're focused on if you're a Portland fan, is this team have the strength defensively with those aging center backs to cover for them to compete at the top of the West.
All right, to round it back up, national TV, we'll get the ESPN Plus in just a second. Kansas City, Houston on Saturday gets us started for the Natty Slate. 3:30 p.m. Eastern, Univision Turien, Twitter in English. Come for all the Ache references and also to see if Kansas City can get a dub at home against the Dynamo. Rolling along on Saturday to finish the night on national TV, Charlotte, LA, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Big Fox Deportes into Sunday. Austin, Miami on ESPN at 4 and LAFC Portland at 10 p.m. on FS1. And then a bunch of ESPN Plus games throughout as well. I'll get us started there. We're not choosing these games, but Alan Velasco is in Dallas. He might be available. They're going to slow play him in. We'll see if that's a player that we see against the Revs on the road this weekend. Sort of seems like probably not, but I don't know. Keep your eyes on that lineup in the 18. Mikel Ura is here. Now, he had a pronunciation video that I managed to procure. It was confusing because he said Michael Ura, and then they said in Danish, what's your name? He said Mikel Ura, and I was like, okay, well, we got to choose one here. I'm going to go the Danish because, that's his name. So Mikel Ura is here. We'll see if he plays for Philadelphia.
Also, the Mikel and the Michael was not the hard part.
Obviously. Well,
thank you, Gus. I'm sitting here like,
but really it's still a delineation. It's still a confusing delineation.
Look at Weeby. He's so cultured that he's gonna call him Mikel instead of Michael. All right,
wow. My ESPN Plus game of the week.
Mickey.
All right, Chuck. My ESPN Plus game of the week: Colorado, Atlanta. That one's 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus on Saturday. I just want to see what Atlanta does, obviously, without Araujo. Is it going to be Dom in the starting lineup? Is it going to be kind of 2 forwards? What's Joseph's role going to be? Is Marcelino Moreno going to be able to push back into the lineup? There were some guys out in this game, and they still played well against Kansas City, that may be available now. So I want to see more of a clear vision of what Gonzalo Pineda sees his top 11 as, even if we already know that with Araujo out, like that vision is a little bit obscured. But show me a little bit more, and also show me on the road. We saw it at home in front of a huge crowd against a Kansas City team that really wasn't like connecting cleanly. Okay, we'll now go to altitude. I'm sure it's going to be pretty cold in Colorado against a Rapids team that just got shellacked by LAFC and had their hearts broken in CCL, and I'm sure are going to be thinking, okay, now is our time to prove something, get back on track. We had Joe hit us up in the mailbag. Says, with the Rapids' recent form, at what point do you go into, quote, play your kids mode? It looks like the team has gotten significantly older compared to the past few seasons. Having a youthful squad always seemed like an advantage for them, and they have some talent waiting the wings. Yaya Toure, Yapi, Sebe Anderson, Mayaka, Oraz, etc. I don't know. Play your kids mode, Dave, is not where we're at here. That would imply like sort of going away from winning this year, or at least like sticking with some of the veterans that have got them here. But they have gotten older, like Cole Bassett being gone now, Sam Vines. But I don't know, Max Alves is super young.
And like, so is Lucas Estevez, and so is Austin Trusty.
They're just not.
I don't
know.
I don't know that that's the point. I would also say for Colorado, it's been a new group that's come in. They made a huge amount of homegrown signings. A lot of times when that happens, it's not because these guys are ready to play. It's to get them in your system. Most of them went to Colorado Switchbacks last year. I think Mayaka is one who you could see get minutes, but also they brought in Brian Acosta this year. And that's a former DP who's in his prime, who can give you minutes in central midfield and does similar things to what Mayaka does. So I would be surprised if a lot of the guys in this list are difference makers for them this year. And again, what happened in CCL was brutal. What happened, I think, against LAFC was a reaction just mentally to what happened in CCL. This team has to get back on track, but I don't think it's indicative of where they stand in MLS.
ESPN Plus game of the week for you, Chuck. What is it?
Minnesota, Nashville. Give it to me. Nashville, they go to Seattle. They win 1-0. Of course, Seattle is rotating some players, but still, playing in Seattle is not easy. This Nashville team looks like they're picking up right where they left off last year, continuing to be organized, tough to break down, and they're lethal on the counter, and they create chances in transition. So now you're going to Minnesota. And for me, Minnesota, we're still trying to figure out where are they. You know, this is a team that has a lot of talent. I think they've been together for quite a while now. And you're looking at some of these players. You know, I was one of the first people to be fighting for a player like Hassani Dotson. He's got to be on the field. This is someone who has shown throughout his time that he's talented. He can play a number of positions, but I always thought he should be in the midfield. So he's playing there. And they brought in Kevin Arriaga, who was almost flawless, 93% passing on the ball against the Union in Philadelphia. So for me, that's a big upgrade, playing with him and Dotson. And then Reynoso, one of the most creative players in Major League Soccer as a number 10. When you have that as your midfield, you should be creating chances, you should be on the front foot. We didn't really see that from them against the Union. They only had 2 corners to Philadelphia's 11. They had 31 clearances. This was a team who was just like almost holding on for a point on the road to start the season. Yes, in some cases it's okay, but now you're playing at home against Nashville. So I'm really interested to see what they can bring. And St. Clair, Dane St. Clair, let the man go. If you're going to say Tyler Miller's a 28-year-old goalkeeper.
Revs color commentator Charlie Davies.
Let him go.
Let him go. Where should I let him go to, Charlie?
No, I'm not saying he should go to the Revs. Hey, Montreal's a perfect place for a young
They have
Canadian.
a goalie.
Vancouver could be as well. I know they just re-signed Hassel, but
yeah. No, I agree with you, Charlie.
Or the Revs.
Or potentially Charlotte will need him. Maybe Cincinnati will need him, although I'm not going to give up on Alec Khan that fast. Depth is a weird concept in MLS because in a salary cap league, you only have so many resources. I agree with you on St. Clair. They gave up resources to get Tyler Miller. Then they re-signed him to a large contract. Then they re-signed Dane St. Clair as well. But you don't need succession planning for Tyler Miller. He's a young goalkeeper who, if you believe in him, will be there for a very long time. So I agree with you. Just speaking about Nashville real quick, they traded Daniel Rios to Charlotte last week. It's a smart pickup for Charlotte. Where was Colorado and KC when that went down? Like you're talking about, I'm not saying he's an MLS Cup winning starting center forward, but there's a talented player, 350 in allocation for a 22-year-old, like good striker, legit center forward, and has 2 of them. So that's my upset.
The other ones are waiting for Zardes. That's why.
Wow.
Just waiting for that price to drop, huh? How about you, Dave? What's your ESPN Plus game?
I'm going to go Chicago, Orlando, and not just because, as Charlie mentioned, we will speak to Gaga Slonina in a moment, and I'm enthralled with him, and I will watch him on a soccer field anytime he's out there. But because coming out of that Inter-Miami game, Shaqiri just should have had an assist. He was so good playing balls into Ivanov, making those runs as Shabilko drops in and pulls center backs, and then Shaqiri finds those gaps, and it was with the pass a lot in the first week. I think we could see him break lines just dribbling. and just be in breakaways from midfield, from deep areas, because Shabilko likes to come back and fill those areas as well. I think you saw it all from Shaqiri except the final product, which again wasn't his fault. And so anytime this guy's on the field, you got to tune in. Pineda gets the start in central midfield. He looked really comfortable there. So there's a bit of a battle there to watch out for as well. So I think you saw ideas from Ezra Hendrickson of how this is going to line up. And as Shaqiri gets more comfortable and then Jairo Torres comes in, it's just going to get more and more dangerous.
And Orlando have some real potential this year. Like, go watch Facundo Torres, folks. They showed flashes in their opening win against Montreal, but now they go on the road. By the way, Mike Vermland hit us up and says Shaqiri and Higuain generated 6 key passes each, tying Heel and Zelrayan for first in MLS, while Lucho had 4 key passes. None of the 3 teams, the Fire, Inter Miami, or FC Cincinnati, scored a goal. So the question is, at year's end, who will have created the most chances with the least to show for it?
So my 4 options are who?
No, it's Shaqiri, Higuain, and Lucho Acosta.
Okay, 3
Who
options.
would you choose? Most chances, least to show for it.
I'm not going to say Shaqiri because I think there is talent.
I would go
Torres
Higuain or Lucho.
Yeah, the question is, how much are you trusting Brenner, and then how much are you trusting anyone else on Miami? And I guess I'm going to say Higuain loses this or wins this, however you word it.
All right. Well, on that note, let's go to our conversation with Gaga Slonina. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. All right, it's an AT&T 5G call to the field. To the Windy City we go, to Gaga Slonina. 17 years old with a game of a man. Gaga, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me on. You know, it's training for the home opener, so it's exciting times right now. So, yeah, feeling good.
We will talk about that home opener, Orlando City coming to town. But I want to start with this, and I had to ask you before we got on. I was like, Gabriel or Gaga? And you said Gaga, so I want to know the origin story of Gaga. Where does the nickname come from? How long has it been around? Who started it?
I mean, it was since I was at my hometown club, Addison United. Like, since then, everyone had just called me Gaga. I think it started with just, I have no idea where it came from. I wouldn't be able to say a specific time, but ever since I was growing up, you know, my friends, family would always call me Gaga. So it honestly became like my first name. It was so natural for like to hear someone call me Gaga, and Gabriel is just almost unnatural, you know. I'd be more willing to turn if someone said Gaga instead of Gabriel.
Dude, family doesn't go Gabriel. Family goes Gaga. Mom goes Gaga. Dad goes Gaga.
Yep,
Grandparents
everyone.
go Gaga.
God,
100%.
No Gabes? No Gabes?
No, at school actually, but I hated it. I hated that one.
Nice.
That was not the one.
I respect that, man. As an Andrew who people tried to like peg Andy, I was unwilling to ever. You can't. Don't shorten it on me. I'm one thing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna tell you, Gaga Slonina has a great like rhythm to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, if you're gonna be a professional athlete,
almost
or
like a Brazilian
musician. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it works, you know.
Okay, before we get into more soccer, tell me about your family and tell me about your upbringing with the game. Your brother's a teammate of yours with the Fire. What is soccer? What does football mean to your family?
Yeah, I mean, my parents were both born in Poland, and they came to the U.S. when they were about 21, 22. So they didn't know the language or anything. You know, they moved to Chicago with just a new start. And then ever since I was about 3, you know, I joined the Park District for my hometown, and then joined the hometown club there. So I mean, I've been playing soccer ever since I could walk, you know. So I mean, I was always around the sports background. My dad was a professional sprinter or long distance runner, and my mom played basketball in Poland. So I think we have like some athletic genes, you know. And then you know, sports were natural, you know. It was super fun playing every sport. You know, I love tennis, I love basketball, just being athletic, you know, being mobile, keeping active. So yeah, but obviously soccer was what stuck with me the most, you know. And then I would play goalkeeper most, but I would be switching in center back, striker, you know, anything, just when I was smaller. So
when did you zero in on being a goalkeeper? It's obviously unique to other things that go on around the field. When did you become a full-time goalie?
Yeah, I think at Addison United, I became a full-time goalie basically, but, you know, ever since as I progressed, you know, and started to get bigger and bigger, I started to stay in goal more. obviously because I was able to cover more of the goal. So, and then I just fell in love with the position from there. Yeah.
Which goalkeepers do you look up to? If you're watching a game and you could picture one keeper that you wanted to learn from, who would that be?
I think the main one would be Manuel Neuer, just because he's been at such a high level for so long, and he revolutionized the game with being that sweeper keeper, you know? Like, he's done such bold things in his career that have impacted the way that goalkeepers play now, and it's incredible to see what he's done. But I mean, learning from every goalkeeper and taking what I can use, like, I think Edouard Mendy right now is at such a high level, and learning from him and his the way he positions and moves around in the goal is incredible.
What do you watch when you watch another goalkeeper? Like, the rest of us are watching from a different sort of perspective than you would. What are the specific things that you are looking for or watching?
Yeah, it's funny because when I watch like games, I won't watch the ball. I'll just watch the goalkeeper and seeing what he's doing. You know, if he's when he's timing his set, is his set time late? Is he higher when the ball's further away from the goal? Like, his body positioning, if he gets lower and gets down in his set, where his hands are. Because, I mean, every goalkeeper has different techniques. You know, some goalkeepers keep their hands closer in, some like them wider out. So, I mean, looking at everything about what they do, like where their defenders are, how they're positioning based off where their defenders are. I mean, every little thing, you know, where they're playing the pass, when the pressure's coming. Yeah, every little thing that'll help me develop my game as well.
And then on the opposite end, how closely are you watching the strikers? So, you know, when you're watching Major League Soccer and you're studying strikers, what are you looking for? What are those keys to kind of give you an edge in the game?
Yeah, I mean, watching scout on other players is huge for me. You know, like their tendencies, what they do when they're closing in on goal. You know, if they're 1v1, are they more of a player to kind of fake you out and dribble around you, or even go for the chip? You know, you might want to stay upright a little bit more. But yeah, if they're looking for those curlers and they're taking shots from distance, what foot they're hitting with, if they're hitting with both feet, you know, every little thing I try to watch, you know, just to give me that edge in the game.
Has there been one moment where you studied, you're in the match, you obviously of your young career, and it worked out? You anticipated something that you had seen on the tape. Yeah,
so I have two opportunities where it had worked. When I saved the penalty versus Soteldo, I had seen, like, a long time ago he had gone for a chip, right? And so I'm kind of chatting to him before, because I know that I've seen that chip before, and so I tell him that I know he's going to go down to the bottom left, because his last 4 he had gone bottom left. So I tell him, I know you're going to go bottom left, and then I knew from watching him way before that he has that chip in his locker, you know. So if he knows that I'm going to dive bottom left, he's going to try and bring it out.
Oh, you set him up.
So I set him up for the chip, and then I dived to the right because I knew that I had messed with his head, yeah.
Gaga, what are you doing on March 26th? There's a huge game at the second. It sounds like you're already ready. This is unbelievable. You're in the head of Jefferson Soteldo. This is next level stuff.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about your position and your role, because the goalkeeper is sort of that general in the back. And as a communicator, you are a teenager. You are playing behind players who have played all over the world at high levels. Do you take that role as that head communicator? Do you lean on them? How do you sort of handle that?
Yeah, I try to be the biggest communicator on the field as I can, because, you know, obviously I'm seeing everything, you know. I see every single run coming in. And for me, after games, like, physically, it's not too bad, but mentally I'm drained, man. Like, I'm so tired mentally after a game, because I'm constantly scanning and trying to communicate and see things happening before they happen. So, I mean, yeah, I try to be I see everything, you know, so I have to kind of communicate to every single player and all 4 of those players in the back that we're playing with. So I think, yeah, I try to take up that role as the biggest communicator and the guy who can organize everything and keep our defensive group in shape.
You said, like, the exhaustion mentally, and that makes sense to me. And I also was reading that meditation is a big part of your life. It seems like you're pretty in tune to the mental side of both the game, but also just life. Tell me about meditation, how you use it, and how you approach that side of the game and your own life.
Yeah, I'm super, so I plan my days out and everything. I like to be super organized, you know. I try to keep a plan of what I'll do weekly, just to keep myself, like, knowing that I'm improving every day. So meditation for me, like, oh, that's been the biggest change of like my career so far. Like, I do it every morning. So I use Headspace. I don't know, you guys are probably familiar with Headspace. Yeah, so I'll do, you know, just going with the packs they have on there, and then using what works for me, what doesn't. So I do like their sports competition pack, which is a huge part for me to like, so like in that pack, like it goes into like the visualization of like you're already on the field and using like the objects of focus, like using the crowd's noise to lock you in and into the zone. So once I'm into the game already, like I know, like in my mind, I've already been here. So I'm already prepared for this moment, you know, like there's nothing else I can do to prepare for this but to be here. So yeah, and then meditation it helps with like just giving your all in the moment every single time. So, you know, like right now in this interview, I'm trying to be the best communicator and give you guys the best information about what I can. So yeah, it's a huge part, and I honestly would recommend everyone to do it because it really changed the way I view life and live my life.
Just as someone who was 17 half my life ago, I feel like a complete bozo because I'm not doing a lot of the things that you're talking about doing right now and seeming so confident in. Like, where does this come from? The mindset that you have, the ambition that you very clearly have, the work ethic that you're putting in to try to get to the places that you want to go. I mean, in addition to the meditation, I was reading that you have in your room basically a vision board of like short, medium, long-term goals. Where does all this come from for you? When did it start? And what does that board say? What are your goals, man?
Yeah, so I mean, on that board, I have like a main goal for like this week, and it's obviously clean sheet versus Orlando City. So, you know, I'll read it every morning, and then I have season goals. You know, I want to, for the season, I want to keep 16 clean sheets because I know that I think 14 or 15 was the MLS record. So obviously I want to try and beat that and continue to you know, push myself to the top. Start at least 30 matches, getting that game experience in, making sure that I'm developing because, you know, obviously games are most important for a young player. But yeah, I mean, it just went with building on, like, adding things into my locker, you know, constantly having posters up in my room about motivating myself and keeping myself, you know, pushing myself to the top every day, even when it's about that, like, never getting comfortable, you know, because once you get comfortable and you're sitting in your spot and you're like, all right, I'm glad with where I'm at. That's the end of your improvement, you know. So I think just staying hungry and staying humble in the process is so important. And then just like the confidence, like it just comes with being prepared, you know. If you're prepared, there's nothing to be nervous about. You know, you've done everything you can to prepare for the moment. So yeah, I mean, just the routines you build daily, I think keep you in check and keep you improving every day.
One of the ways we talk about with soccer players getting comfortable or pushing yourself is moving to new leagues, new teams, pushing to that higher level. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation with you around how long you'll be in MLS, and we're excited to enjoy you for as long as we can because we want to see you break that record with the clean sheets. How are you processing maybe what that experience will be like and the rumors and agents and all of that, and sort of what's your goal of where you want to land and when you want to do it?
Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to my agent about this type of stuff because he keeps me super dialed in, you know, like he deals with everything about all that type of stuff. So he's always telling me, anybody reach out, you hear anything, let me know. You focus about being the best you can be every single day. So, I mean, we don't really talk about it much with my agent. I'm usually just telling him about how I'm feeling every single day. Like we have such a good connection about that type of stuff. So he's always working. I know he's working his hardest for me, and I'm working my hardest to, you know, continue to get those offers and everything. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, just being dialed in the season, like, I think I've done well at just focusing on every single day, pushing myself to the best. So I like to keep all that stuff out and just focus on the next game because obviously the next one is the most important.
And you said it best. Obviously, your long-term goals is to play overseas, right? Because you talked about being uncomfortable and playing at the highest level. What did this most recent U.S. men's national team call up do for you? Because all of a sudden now you're playing with the very best that the U.S. has to offer. Does that kind of play into that? I want that level of competition every single day. And what did you learn from that, you know, experience?
Yeah, it's a whole new perspective, you know, like seeing what these guys act like on the field and even off the field. You know, everyone there is so fit, so professional, and just doing it's. I mean, it's clear why they play in Europe. You know, it's obvious that these guys are the best Americans in the world, and it was an extreme honor to see just to become friends with them off the field, and then building that connection on the field and having them take shots at me, you're taking shots from like Christian Pulisic, like he plays at Chelsea, it's incredible. And then just the level part, it raises my level because I have to step up and show that I can be a part of this team. So it made me so much better and prepared me for the season in an incredible way. I think it prepared me for the season the best way possible. And, how can I now show to the young players what I learned from them, letting it sink in and then giving it out to the young players that are here at the club, because obviously you want to learn and then you want to give back to what you're learning from, yeah.
So Tony Meola's had some interesting quotes on you. One of them is basically that you remind him of a young Gigi Buffon, but he also said that he thinks one day you're going to be the U.S. men's national team starting goalkeeper. But you do have a decision in that sense. Is a decision made in your mind, or is that down the line and you're trying to push that out just like the transfer rumors said?
Yeah, that's also down the line, I've never been at a Polish national team camp, so I mean, obviously I want to see what it would be like, but obviously that decision is so much further down the line, and I just want to, again, focus on just what I can do right now to hopefully get the moments, get the chances, because, if you look too far in the future, then you're not in the present moment, so you can't give your all here right now.
What about 3 weeks down the line?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen things about that too, so, just again, just focusing on this week training and preparing, because you never know.
True.
When you go into training, you mentioned playing against the U.S. men's national team players and facing their shots. You've got Shaqiri now, who can hit one. Has he stung the palms a little bit yet in training?
Yeah, just today, man. You just reminded me of today's training. He was banging some in, but he's such a top player, man. I have to give him credit for the way he came in and motivates everyone. He wants to be a winner. It's clear that he wants to do something with his club. So, I mean, it's amazing having him here.
The Fire seem different. It's ownership, it's an ambition, and of course the crest we see behind you is different from what we've seen before. How have you seen this club change in the time that you've been there? And what do you think you guys are truly capable of this season?
I mean, just this year, the energy and attitude of everyone at the club is incredibly changed. I feel the energy that we want to win every single game, before games, and even at before halftime. When you come in as a group right before the half starts, everyone is talking about winning. Everyone wants to win the game. Everyone wants to come away with 3 points, and you feel that. You feed off that energy. So I think we've done a great job at changing a lot of things at this club, and I mean, we want to go for the MLS Cup this year, man. I know we can do it. I know we can add another star to this logo.
Can I ask you about last weekend and about the T-shirt you wore? No war in Ukraine. I mean, it was it's a powerful moment internationally, and of course, a tragic moment for Ukraine and everyone there. But you're 17 years old, man. To make that statement, to have the ability to speak to it, it's just awesome. So where's the inspiration for that? When did you think, this is something I'm going to do, and where did that come from?
I mean, yeah, it's just about using the platform you have, because social media nowadays is such a big part of life. You have to accept it, and I think doing what I can to help others out is so important. So, I spoke with the equipment manager about what we could do for that message, and he had a little bit of those stickers left over, so we just printed it on the Under Armour before the game. So, I mean, yeah, it was a simple decision for me. It's just so easy for me to wear a shirt and then, take some pictures with it. So just to create awareness for the cause and everything. But I mean, again, I spoke with my agent about it, and he was watching some videos and seeing some incredibly sad videos about what's going on in Ukraine. So, I mean, it's just the least I could do,
Does it feel closer for you, given that you have family in the part of the world? I mean, not in Ukraine, but not too far from where these things are happening.
Yeah, I mean, Ukrainians are immigrating into Poland, so I mean, I have family there and everything, so it is a little bit scary, because you never know what could happen. So, I just want to end that war as quick as possible, because it's a tragedy, really.
Next time we have you on, because You've been laser focused and great, so we want to let you get to the next thing. We'll have to talk about best Polish restaurants in Chicago, so you can get us the Rex. So next time we're there,
I got you. I got you with the desserts.
yes, okay.
Give us okay, all right. Look, give us your ideal meal. Like this is the meal. You're setting the table. You're like, hey, mom, this is what we're having, or we're gonna go here. What's the ideal?
Okay, so it'll be appetizer.
Wait, gotta have the appetizer. Come on now.
It'll be a
we're really
beet
eating
soup.
here.
It'll be a beet soup
Nice.
with these little mushroom dumplings. Oh my man! And then we'll start with some pierogi
Of course.
mixed with inside potatoes and onion.
Okay.
And then we'll have a little bit of some gołąbki. So it's meat and rice wrapped in cabbage, and then tomato sauce poured over.
I feel like I'm in Warsaw right now, bro. Like this is.
And then we'll have
hungry.
we'll have some cutlet. So it's basically just breaded chicken breast with some mashed potatoes, shredded beets, and then we'll go with a pickle in there.
Nice.
Have to.
Yeah, of course.
Gotta
and
do
then
it.
We'll end with some naleśniki. So it's basically like this sweet. It's like a dessert type thing. You could have like sweet cheese filling or like some fruit filling, and then we'll go with a pączek. So like it's this big fried donut basically with you can have some vanilla filling in there or some fruit filling. It's incredible, man.
It was so
my
nice
man
of you,
eats.
Gaga, to come on here and invite us to dinner at your family's house. That was really
wonderful.
great of you.
Yeah,
We'll
set that
be
date
there.
for us.
To be
Yeah.
clear,
And there's so much food I didn't mention, but it's all we could fit on one plate.
so we'll have to make a trip to Chicago.
That's a big
Oh
plate.
yeah, man.
That's a huge plate.
Hey, Weeby, he's growing. He's got to get to
I
that.
know, man. I know.
You gotta eat. You gotta eat.
That GGB phone size. We want to come out to Chicago, though, because I think me and Weeby were both at the All-Star game a few years back at Soldier Field. We haven't been to a Chicago Fire game yet at Soldier Field. Obviously, your home opener this weekend at 6 p.m., as you said, against Orlando. For you as a native, what does it mean to play at Soldier Field and to sort of bring the brand back into one of the legendary stadiums in the world?
Yeah, I'm so pumped. I'm buzzing already. You know, I'm constantly trying to do the most on social media to engage everyone and let everyone know about the game, because I mean it's amazing to play for this city. You know, I live in the suburbs, so driving down into the city and seeing that, you know, just seeing the whole skyline and then being like, man, like I play for this team it's honestly it's a true honor to play for them, and then, you know, go out on the field and give my all. It's an incredible feeling, and then playing in front of the fans in my hometown, like, it's insane. I love it.
What's the ticket request list look like for you right here? Well,
it's a
agent's
lot.
handling that one, I'm assuming, but somebody else got to handle that for you. But how many people are we talking here?
Oh, I got a lot, you know, a lot of friends and a family coming in. So, I mean, I was asking a bunch of guys for their extra tickets and everything. So,
Trying to make trades, man. Gaga Slonina, one of the
Yeah.
most exciting prospects in MLS. Not a prospect really anymore, doing his thing as a starter for the Fire. It's been awesome to talk to you, man. Good luck with everything. And if you hear a knock at your door around dinner time and you're not expecting anybody, and you got three jokers on the other end looking through the camera, that's us. That's going to be us, man.
thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, well, Gaga Slonina, making me feel bad about myself, honestly. I am not organized, ambitious, or mindful enough about anything that I do compared to him. That was incredible. So we talk about, sometimes we cut interviews, we're like, that was one of the best interviews we've ever done. That changed me, man.
See, I agree with you, and I felt that way the whole interview. And then he started talking about wrapping anything in dough, and I went back to my old mindset, and I said, get me Polish food now. You put a car tire in dough and fry it, and I will eat it. All of that sounded good. All that Polish food sounded awesome. I'm very excited to go to Gaga Slonina's for dinner.
Think they'll welcome us in, Charlie? Think we'll be welcome at the table in the Slonina household?
Absolutely. We pump this kid up. He's a bright talent, so we're going to be welcomed with open arms.
What'd you make of that interview?
He's sharp. I'm going to be rooting for him. He has a supporter in me, because obviously he has the talent, but the mentality and the way he carries himself and the way he thinks about things is very impressive.
All right. Let us know what you think of the Gaga Slonina interview and watch him while you can in MLS. He very deftly navigated the transfer and U.S. Poland side of things. He has it together. He has it together. Let's get to the mailbag, 401-206-0MLS, extratime at MLSsoccer.com, or hit us up on Twitter at extratime. There was a Reddit question going around, which MLS Academy will be the first to crack the top 10 list that you might have seen recently going around of basically sales out of those academies from the International Center for Sports Studies. Most profitable academies over the last 7 years, and that included like Benfica, Madrid, Monaco, Ajax, Lyon, Leverkusen, Atalanta, Chelsea, Sporting Lisbon, Liverpool, etc.
Etc. You named all of them.
Yeah,
Wait,
etc.
Just to be
There's
clear,
still 50 more.
Just to be clear, this list, does it then count if a player gets sold again? And does that number go in? Like, how does all this work?
I don't know, honestly. Andres put it in here, and I don't have the details for you. I'm just asking you, which, like, if you had to go next 7 years, give me a top 3 MLS academies that you think are going to be like quote unquote most profitable. Who's in your top 3?
Union.
Okay. We've seen that obviously already with Aronson and with McKenzie, and they've got more coming through that pipeline.
I mean, Dallas has such a head start. It would be silly not to say them.
It just feels like in terms of the system that they have in place, plus the proof of concept, plus their ability to say like, okay, well, this guy's worth X amount because these guys were worth X amount.
Also, if I want to say Inter Miami, Dallas is $40 million ahead of them. So
yeah, we're starting right now. So
we're starting at 0.
Yeah, wipe those previous sales off the board.
I've said this before. I'm pretty hopeful about Orlando. I think Oscar Pareja has shown what he can do. He has brought the right people in alongside him and Luis Muzzi, who have built that academy out. And you're talking about a talent-rich area. You're talking about reaching up into the Southeast. I mean, Chris Richards didn't have to go to Dallas, right? He's an Alabama guy. Like, he could have gone to Orlando if they were, relevant enough to appeal to players. And we're seeing some players come from Eastern Florida as well. So I think Orlando, I think Seattle and Toronto are going to crack into those conversations pretty soon.
New York City FC's up there.
And NYCFC as well, yeah.
Galaxy, you'd hope would get there. They got a couple good starts, you'd think, in Araujo and Alvarez, but there's a huge market there for them to tap into. We know what Greg Vanney wanted to do in Toronto and the staff that they have.
And if their center backs are this bad, get Jalen Neal on the field. Like, come on, man. What else are you doing? Sorry.
All right, well, we have a Twitter thread out there. I'll try to go through that and answer your question, folks. I see you in there. But that's it for us. Big thanks to Gaga Slonina. Big thanks to you two, of course, producing Anders for doing his thing. Enjoy week 2, everybody. TV listings at MLSsoccer.com. All the highlights and coverage will be there as well. And we'll see you on Monday for the full breakdown of MLS Week 2. Adios. Congratulations, you made it through more than an hour of extra time. That means you love the show, and if you love the show, you probably want more episodes. Click right here for more episodes of Extra Time, and here to subscribe to the MLS YouTube channel. Thanks for following along.